Yeah, he can beat him. Of course he can. But, you're in there against someone with an amazing skill set who's shown that time and time again, who always finds a way.
Pro boxing fans, we're in Riyadh. It is fight week. This one means a bit different. It's a bit different for you, Frank. This is actually bragging rights. Queensberry versus Matchroom. How are you? How's things?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Glad to be here in Riyadh. Obviously following up an unbelievable weekend in Leeds as well. Slightly changing weather coming over here. But yeah, it's a big week. It's a big week. Who would have thought 7 months ago we'd be seeing this? You can't quite imagine it, but it's good for the sport, and it's a big night.
Let's talk about the card, your fighters. I've seen Raymond Ford walk in, just Craig is behind us, and I've seen a few of the Queensberry lads. Everybody's got a smile on their face. They seem to be really buzzing about this fight called The Occasion. How much are you pushing the guys on to say, listen guys, we need to just get this. This is big for the company.
They know it, but at the same time, these are all big fights for their careers as well. They're driven themselves to go in there and get the results as well. I've seen a lot of talk as well about people saying that there's so much focus around the promoters, but I think it's good because these concepts bring people into the sport and also make fights that maybe wouldn't get the eyeballs, much bigger. Is the reality. This kind of concept, you're following a story and a narrative. This has been something that's been going on for 30 odd plus years, this sort of back and forth, and finally we get to seal a winner, and this will be the first of many as well. So they've all got big nights ahead of them, big fights in their careers, and they know what they need to do. It's going to be, I think it's going to be a 5-0 drubbing.
And is your captain going to get the knockout as well, Deontay Wilder? I do want to talk about that fight, Deontay Wilder, Zhilei Zhang, first of all. When I talk to a lot of people, I said to Hamza in his interview that the heavyweights don't need attention; they bring their own attention. But that one, are you hoping? Are you pushing for Deontay to somehow take down the big giant in Zhilei Zhang?
Yeah, look, he's got a lot to go in there and prove. He obviously had that fight against Joseph Parker in December. He wants to be in those big fights still in the heavyweight division. And he needs to go in there and put in a big performance. And I believe he can go in there and get the KO win. The Bronze Bomber's back, and he's going to go in there and do the business. So again, who would have thought Deontay Wilder would be captaining Team Matchroom a few months ago? But there's big fights to be made for him. If he can get the win in there on Saturday night, and I think he knows what he needs to do. So we're going to see the Bronze Bomber of old.
What's your relationship like with Deontay though? Whilst on the front, and what we're seeing is that he's part of Team Matchroom. Is everything amicable? Is everything good? Are you guys chatting quite well?
Yeah. I've always got on with. I actually met Deontay a year or so ago, a year and a half ago, and had dinner with him maybe 2 years ago. Had a long evening with him. And got on really well. He's a nice bloke. And the relationship's good. You saw that with Eddie when they had the launch press conference, and he's very much on side, and it's a big night. I still think the Deontay Wilder Anthony Joshua fight's a massive fight at some point. Especially if he can get the win, regardless of results, etc. People want to see these big fights. They want to see these big names against each other. So but yeah, very good.
Dubois-Hrgovic is a fight that probably means a bit more to yourselves than the rest of the card in regards to the winner potentially going to be fighting Anthony Joshua in the UK in September. Is there any preference in regards to what you'd like, or is it just whoever wins?
No, look, we've worked with Filip Hrgovic for a long time. I had some great nights with him, and I believe you haven't seen the best of Filip Hrgovic of late, in reality. But he knows he needs to show the best against Daniel Dubois. Daniel Dubois had a great performance against Jarrell Miller, showed a lot of heart to come through that fight. But I think Filip's going to show why people have spoken about him so highly for many years. I don't think you can really use the Mark Demori fight as a gauge for the quality in all reality. I think Dempsey McKean fight he wasn't the best in, and obviously around the Zhilei Zhang fight he'd lost his father not long around that sort of period. So I think you're going to see the best of him. He's waited a long time for this shot, and sets up a potential big fight. There's lots to talk about what's next for AJ. Like I say, the Wilder fight is a huge fight as well if he was to win against Zhilei Zhang. So and he'll be watching all of those heavyweights fights just like he was for Usyk Fury.
I think my question might actually have been a bit wrong in regards. I was asking in regards to
AJ Filip Hrgovic to win
as Team Matchroom, but I was asking about AJ. But yeah, that's fine. What other fight apart from in them other three really excites you?
I love them. Look, I love all three fights. I think Ray Ford, he had a tremendous performance to get that win against Oktябr Komatov back in March. Unbelievable finish in the 12th round. I think Nick Ball deserved the victory. Against Vargas back in March as well. He gets another shot at the world title, but I think Ray Ford's going to show the levels in there on Saturday night. Austin Williams against Hamza Shiraz. Austin looks in the shape of his life. He looks unbelievable. He's trained so hard for this. Hamza Shiraz is a brilliant fighter. The winner will become mandatory for the WBC world title as well, so much on the line there. But Austin, we've been with him since day one. I think he's going to go in there, get a big result for us and beat their captain. And Craig Richards against Willie Hutchinson. I believe Craig Richards is the up there in the 175s in the UK. I think get a massive win against Willie Hutchinson sets up some huge domestic fights and then potential world fights down the line. He had a great performance obviously against Dmitry Bivol a few years back now, close fight against Joshua Boyatse, he's obviously changed now, training with Shane McGuigan as well. So I think you're going to see the best of Craig Richards on Saturday night. So a 5-0 win for me.
Fair enough. I do want to talk about Jack Catterall.
One other before we forget, away from the 5v5, an added bonus for the show, my number one man, Dmitry Bivol. He's my number one fighter out the stable. Dmitry Bivol, obviously unfortunate not to be having the Beterbiev fight this weekend, another undisputed fight. That'll happen down the road. He's got a real fight against Malik Zinad, just come off the back of a final eliminator win in Australia. He's got a real tough test, but I believe he's going to show the levels as he always does.
Do you want to talk about Jack Catterall? A good fight, a very, very good fight. I wasn't there, I actually watched it on TV, and it was everything that everyone expected it to be and more. Teofimo Lopez is a fighter that Eddie's called out, Jack's called out, and they want that fight. Teo's doesn't seem to be fond of Eddie anyway, so maybe that is a fight in the future. Is there anything you can do in regards to talks right now? I know he's got a fight with Steve Klanger, but is there something that you're starting the process off with?
Yeah, he's obviously got that fight I think in June, is it? Yeah, that he's fighting Steve Claggett. I think Jack's going to take some time out. He's had a long time in camp. It's been a long old journey to get to that fight against Josh Taylor. But definitely a fight of interest. Hopefully we can make it happen, although I'm not sure Bob will be too fond of sending fighters to the UK after his speech on Saturday night. But yeah, there's lots of big fights to be made for Jack Catterall. A tremendous night, and respect to both guys because they gave it from the first round was better than the whole first fight, I think, in terms of viewing entertainment. But you can create the hype, the build up, the buzz, the atmosphere, and we saw that atmosphere in Leeds on Saturday night. But the fight has to live up to that as well, and that fight really did. 12 rounds of back and forth. Jack Catterall, I thought, deserved winner, and so happy for him as well because it's been a long time coming. 2.5 years he's waited to avenge that result, and yeah, some big nights to come though for Jack Catterall.
Do you want to sort of move away and talk about other boxing before I do let you go? Tyson Fury, Oleksandr Usyk, last time you were here in Riyadh and last time I was here was for that big fight. It delivered and more, like I said, for the Catterall Josh Taylor fight. It seems like they've activated the rematch clause, Tyson has. Do you feel like he can sort of hone his skill sets and make sure that he beats Usyk on this time, or do you feel like Usyk's maybe got his number?
Look, I think the reality is they can all beat each other on their best night. I do believe Oleksandr Usyk is pound for pound number one fighter in the sport right now for what he's done at cruiserweight, then done at heavyweight. Undisputed at those two weights. So many people have written him off as well, especially at heavyweight coming up. But he showed the levels. But Tyson Fury was probably 5-2 up after 7 rounds in that fight, something like that, around that sort of. And Oleksandr Usyk, as he always does, found a way and showed why he deserves to be there. I think Oleksandr Usyk was the deserved winner on the night. But yeah, look, it's a massive fight. It's a massive rematch. There'll be a lot of intrigue in there. If Tyson Fury can do what he did for those first, like out the first 7 rounds and winning the rounds like he was, then yeah, he can beat him. Of course he can. But you're in there against someone with an amazing skill set who's shown that time and time again, who always finds a way. But yeah, an amazing fight and excited for it.
Where does Oleksandr Usyk rank for you now? I'm talking about where in regards to pound for pound now, and even then amongst like the best heavyweights out there.
I think now he's got to be, for me, pound for pound number one. for what he's done. Like I say, coming up to heavyweight as well with that, you know, the size difference as well. Look, I'm not a boxing historian. I'm not going to sit here and say I used to watch Muhammad Ali and like I've seen all those fights. I've been around boxing for the last 14 years or so, and I think he's up there right now. But I'm not going to compare him to the ones of old because I haven't seen enough of them. Just going to be honest.
Last one, actually, I do want to go back to the Bob Arum moments, which sort of never shocked us, but it was different, let's say. It was like a WWE Rock moment, grabbing the mic and sort of going off. What was your reaction to when Bob got the mic?
I think personally think at the end he should have just mic dropped it.
Okay.
I think he missed out on that moment. That would have been great content if he would have just gone like that. It's Bob Arum, isn't it? The only shame is, like, Jack Catterall was the deserved winner that night. Very clearly, I don't think you can argue that. But the scorecards sort of paint a different story because that's, you know, everyone, even if you didn't watch the fight but you saw Bob Arum's outburst, you think it was some kind of robbery that Jack Catterall won, so it takes away from it. But that's Bob Arum being Bob Arum. I can't, you know, look, respect to him because at 93 years old, I mean, I can't believe he's still, unbelievable. But yeah, always fun.
Cool. Frank, I've taken up too much of your time, I think. Thank you very much. I will see you during the week. It's going to be a big, long week, a big week of grand arrivals, media workouts and everything else. We'll be catching up and speak to you then. Thank you very much. Top man. Appreciate that.
Cheers, bro.